for the candidates forum. This is the first time that the league has held a candidates forum in Schaumburg for quite a few years, so we're a little out of practice on this one. But we'd like to thank you for coming again. Just to let you know a little bit about the league, it was founded in 1920, and it came out of the suffragette movement. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. It's a political organization that is nonpartisan. We neither support, oppose, or recommend candidates for office. The League's purpose is to promote responsibility through the informed and active participation of all citizens. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and the candidates running for office. We're pleased to offer this service to you. As you can see, we'll be offering 3 forums today. The Schaumburg Township Library District Board, the second forum will be Schaumburg Village Trustees, and the last forum will be the candidates running for Schaumburg Village President, commonly referred to as Mayor. I'd like to introduce Vicki Martin, our chair of today's forum, and she'll go over the rules of the forum. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Okay, we make a great effort to be sure that all of our forums are very neutral and as fair as possible to all of the candidates. So to help us do that, we're going to give you an idea of how the format of the forum is going to be and what the rules are. Each of the candidates was contacted by email, mail, phone, etc. Several weeks prior to this, so everybody's had equal notice. And they have all agreed to abide by the rules of the forum. Candidates have drawn names for speaking order, and the moderator will rotate the speaking order with each question. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening statement, and then each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. At the end of the forum, each candidate will have an opportunity to make a 1-minute closing statement. League members are acting as timers. Over here in the front row, yay timers. Candidates will be given a 30-second and 15-second warning. So please quickly compose your thoughts and wrap up once you get that 15-second warning, so you're ready to stop when you see the stop card. Time limits will be enforced out of respect for all the candidates. Questions will be provided initially by our moderator and then by the audience, and many of you have already received index cards and pencils. We welcome questions from the audience. That is why we're here, so that you can answer questions, or you can ask the questions that you want answered. Each question is going to be vetted by members of the league for clarity, appropriateness, and to avoid duplication. Candidates have been asked not to interrupt one another, and the moderator can repeat a question if need be. Then the candidates, please speak directly to the audience. Audience, please turn off all your electronic devices. I have to go turn mine off now that I think about it. And we are recording this forum. It will be posted on the League of Women Voters website. However, no candidate is allowed to use the recordings for any campaign purposes. And this is for the League of Women Voters use only for education purposes. Please hold all your applause until the end and do not demonstrate or show support for an individual candidate in any way. There's space outside the room for candidate information and for the candidates to speak to supporters after the forum. No campaign signs are allowed here inside the room. And again, no duplication of any piece of this forum is available for use by anyone except the League of Women Voters. So please be respectful of our candidates and of your fellow audience members. And now I'm pleased to introduce our moderator for today's forum, Catherine Sawyer. Catherine is the Chief Advancement Officer for Oakton Community College and a League of Women Voters group.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out to hear from our candidates. I just want you to know, in full disclosure, I am a very proud member of the League of Women Voters and a resident of the village of Palatine. So I do not vote in any of the elections that we'll be discussing today, which is why I've been asked to be an impartial facilitator for this round of forums. As Vicki indicated, we're starting with the Schaumburg Township Library District Board. Formed by the residents through a referendum in 1962, the first library opened in 1963, and is comprised now of over 500,000 books, 100,000 pieces of audiovisual materials, and connected to a multitude of virtual resources around the globe. In addition to maintaining the collection, its $16 million operating budget supports personnel and care for approximately 185 square feet of physical plant spread across 3 locations: the Central Library in Schaumburg, the Hanover Park branch, and the Hoffman Estates branch. The library board is governed by 7 trustees known as board members, and 3 of these terms will expire this year. We have 4 candidates running to fill these 3 positions, and so with us today and on the ballot are Jillian Rose Bernas, Julie Robluski-Bozart, Emily Gilbert, and Terry Siren. The winner of the consolidated election on April 2nd will serve a 6-year term. So candidates, thank you. I'm so sorry, 4-year term. had you up there for 2 years longer than you were propositioned to be. Thank you very much for the correction. I want to thank you for participating, and we're going to start with your 2-minute opening statements. And so by number draw, Ms. Bozart, please begin.
Hello, my name is Julie Robleski-Bosshart. When I first ran for the Schaumburg Township District Library Trustee position 8 years ago, I hoped to represent moms in the community with young children who use the library frequently. Now that my children are in high school and I am a working mom, I will continue to represent families in the community. When I joined the board, I was able to bring a fresh perspective. I quickly moved into a leadership position, first serving as treasurer, then vice president secretary, and then 2 years as president. During this time, I was involved as the library paid off its debt, celebrated its 50th anniversary, added the teen plays, remodeled the audiovisual department, and hired a new executive director. As a trustee, I hope to continue to provide leadership, fiscal oversight, and a vision for the future of the library. I will use my accounting and finance background to continue to assist with budgeting and to review financial issues before the board. I want to assist the library in living out our mission to be a bridge to our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Siren, your opening statement, please.
Good morning. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event this morning, and thanks to all of you for your interest in our community.
Just there, back it off. Just gets out.
Oh, closer,
There
I'm
you go.
sorry. In addition to the customary duties of trustee, I'm currently the treasurer. Each month, I review the balance sheets, income statements, summaries of the department budgets, the record of our investments, and our cash flow projection. I meet with our finance director prior to our monthly board meeting and then present a treasurer's report at the regularly scheduled board meeting. I have served on the Student Advisory Trustee Committee for 3 years. With another board member and a staff member, we prepare and review applications for student trustees from the 3 local high schools and select 2 per year to serve as non-voting members of the board. They are liaisons between us and the teen community and to make us aware of the student population's needs. I served on the Personnel Committee for 2 years. During that time, we reviewed and updated personnel policies, prepared and submitted the documents to the board for review, discussion, and eventual positive vote. I worked with fellow board members to select an outstanding new library director. I'm done. I'm sorry. Okay. I worked with fellow board members. We selected a really terrific new director. We were involved with the search, the interviews, and the hiring process. The advances in technology have certainly changed and strained library budgets. We need to focus on different kinds of literacy. We need the technology that our population wants. The Schaumburg Township District Libraries recognize their new roles in the community. Libraries as places for people to connect. I am motivated to serve by my sense of stewardship. This community has made the library a priority. The role of trustee comes with the promise to always make decisions based on what is best for the 3 libraries and the community they serve, and to do otherwise would betray the public's trust.
Thank you. Ms. Burness, your 2-minute opening statement, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Jillian Rose Burness, as Catherine said, and I want to say thank you very much to the League of Women Voters. It's not easy to pull off candidate forums, so we're very appreciative of the hard work that the ladies put into it, and we appreciate Catherine also being here to help us moderate. I have been on the board since 2015 and in this community for 36 years, born and raised here, and have been an advocate user of the library ever since I was a small child, learned to read there, took my studies in high school to the library board, moved over to the new library location when it was built in 1998, and was able to really save some money getting textbooks for college out of the library instead of buying them, and then also using the new technologies that came, being able to download books when I would travel and use those. And now today I travel for work. I am the International Relations Manager at a large medical association where I manage the international department. And that's where I am able to get the travel materials I need from our library and use Hoopla, which is a new service we've brought to our community that has everything online. So I don't think there's a question in anyone's mind that our library is a gem in the community. We have outstanding infrastructure, we have a legacy of great fiscal management, and we have awesome staff. And so as a board member, I am looking to be an advocate for taxpayers in the community. We don't need more library ideas. We need people who are going to make sure they're looking at the budget, managing and stewarding our taxpayer dollars well, and also setting good policies so we have a strong library into the future. And so that is why I'm running again. I want to be an advocate for families in this community, make sure that our building, as it ages, is taken care of and is a good place for future generations to continue to read and get the resources they need.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert, your 2-minute opening statement, please.
Hi, can you hear me? Is it working?
Up is on.
Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Emily Gilbert, and I am a librarian for Rasmussen College, and I'm a resident of Hoffman Estates with my husband and our 2-year-old daughter. I have been a frequent library user ever since moving to the Schaumburg area over 10 years ago. And now as a mom, I use it more than ever. And actually, I attended board meetings for almost a year before I decided to run for library board to make sure it was something that I really wanted to do. I believe I can be an asset to the board because I bring with me the experience and perspective of a professional librarian who understands the context for key library issues. And I've spent my career learning how to connect people to information resources. I feel strongly about the importance of libraries, and I hope to be an advocate for the community in keeping our library one of the best in the state. I wanted to share a little about some issues that are important to me. First of all, awareness. I want to make sure that community members know that the library is there and all it can do for them and are using it to its full potential. Also, I feel it's really important to have representation of our diverse community in the library's books and other materials, not only so people can see themselves represented, but also so they can learn about others, their identities and cultures in a meaningful way. And finally, information literacy is more important than ever as we live in such a fast-paced digital world. Information literacy is really the key to finding useful and accurate information, and that's a skill that people need, and it's an essential service that libraries can offer their patrons. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So now we're ready to move on to questions. Audience members, if you have questions that you'd like the candidates to address, I'd ask that you please write them on index cards and pass them to the aisle for collection. I'll start with a few of my own. Candidates, remember, now you have 1 minute to answer. We'll begin with Ms. Siring. How often do you use the library, and what resources or programs are you most appreciative of?
Well, I am probably in the library 2 to 3 times a week. Not just checking out books, all our technology. As it's been put, the technology in our library, we have things that we know we need and things that we didn't even know we needed yet. And so I also attend a lot of programs at the library, just for myself. I'm also in the library to view what our employees have done. And we try to show our interest and follow what they're doing. I also try to visit our other 2 libraries as often as possible for their programs. We have super people over there that sometimes get lost in, people say the Schaumburg Library, think of the Central Library, but we have 2 wonderful other libraries too.
Thank you. Ms. Bermas.
Of course. So I use the library, as we've seen it trending with other people as well, to be a place to do work, to have meetings. I often use the meeting space with different organizations I'm in, the Schaumburg Historical Society, I'll meet with them there. Or if there's an activity, if I just have to meet a friend to organize. We did with the Township of Schaumburg, we met and did a historical bus tour, and so we use the library and its resources. And there's also this great film studio. If you ever have to produce a video, you can go there as well, and I use that. I would say I'm in the library at least once a week. I use a lot of the resources online. I had mentioned it in my opening statement. Hoopla is a really great resource to get those books and TV shows and movies on your computer and be able to watch them and use them when you travel. And I'm very proud to say my husband, I brought him to the community last year. He moved to Schaumburg to be family together, and he has his library card now. So we're able to go together and enjoy it.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert.
I'm also in the library at least once a week. I have a 2-year-old daughter, as I mentioned, so we're in story time pretty frequently on Saturday mornings, and she's playing in the Enchanted Forest and the Kids Zone. It's been fun to watch her grow and be able to do more of the things as she gets bigger and more mobile. We check out a lot of picture books for story time, and I also check out a lot of books. I read 49 books last year, and so many of those came from the library, both in print and checking them out over Drive, and then that goes into my Kindle app. So that's nice too, especially since I spent a lot of time reading over a sleeping infant when my daughter was small. Sometimes the Kindle version is a lot easier to wrangle with a small child. Also, I enjoy programs like I made a really nice holiday centerpiece this year from a program, so that was fun.
Wonderful. Ms. Bosnick, please.
As a lifelong Schaumburg Township resident, I have held a library card since my parents first took me to the library as a small child and fostered my love of reading. As a mother, I enjoyed bringing my children to the library when they were young, and now still encourage them to read and study at the library. My daughter and I completed the Winter Reading Challenge by reading or listening to 5 books each. I've recently made recipes for my family from library cookbooks and planned a family vacation with travel books from the library. I've also used the library research databases through the library website. As part of a book club, we utilized the Book Club in a Bag program. In fact, I had it last night, and we discussed the selections that we read. In the past few months at the library, I attended a college prep program, created a winter container garden, and listened to an art history lecture. My library card is such a valuable item, I use mine frequently.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Ms. Bermas. How do you view the evolving role of the public library in 2019? And as a result, what services and tools would you support as part of the library's service to the community?
Certainly. So obviously everyone's familiar with our evolving technology and how it's impacting our interactions with people on an everyday basis. And the library is not excluded. So our library is being used in different ways from when it was used 20 years ago. And so we responded to that. The great thing about our staff at the library is they help us monitor statistics. So we are looking at different metrics to make sure we understand what's going on in our community. We are seeing people starting to use the library more as a place to meet and do their work, so we're providing outlets for them to plug in their devices. We expanded the bandwidth so that there's so many people connecting at the same time, so it's not slowed down. And there's a lot that needs to be done to keep up with technology, and I'm sure for many years that will be the case. And so we are tracking that. We look at the metrics every single month, and we make sure that we are ahead of the curve. So we want to be proactive when we come to setting policy.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert.
I think the library has done a great job in recent years of adapting its space and collections to meet the changing needs of an ever more technological society. With the redo of the ground floor into the common space, that's a really lovely meeting space for the community where people don't feel that they have to be incredibly quiet, like you might imagine, like people are in the fiction room, for example. A modern library is so much more than just a repository of books, and Schaumburg is really meeting that goal. I know there are resources for people who are searching for jobs, and they can meet with career counselors. They can do tutoring online through BrainFuse, which is also a service I use at work. At the college I work for, they can prepare for a citizenship test if residents are looking to become a citizen, and they can hone their English skills, and I think that really makes it a cornerstone of the community.
Thank you. Ms. Bozard.
Our library is no longer just a place where you go to check out materials. Instead, patrons might come to the library to work on their laptop, to meet a friend or colleague, or to attend a program. Library materials can be accessed remotely through the library website, including ebooks, e-audiobooks, and research databases. The library may come to you with pop-up events and events at nursing homes and other places in the community. The library staff have introduced innovative, larger-scale events that involve the community through the NEA Big Read. The library has discussion and meeting rooms that are well utilized by groups in the community. Librarians are able to connect patrons with excellent resources when questions arise. These resources could be all types, print or electronic or databases. The Schaumburg Township District Library is a bridge to your future. I encourage the residents to make the best use of the resources available to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Simon.
We talked about
The technology for the future. We also, more than ever, need a well-trained, superior staff. We need to focus on different kinds of literacy. We need the well-trained staff who know and can teach technology to our patrons. We also must provide access to the technology that people want, that the patrons want. The Schaumburg Township District Libraries recognize their new roles in the community. Libraries are places, as everybody said, for people to connect. It's totally changing. Libraries work to meet the community's needs. We provide education, programs, events, meeting rooms, disseminate information on topics such as employment, job skills, citizenship, parenting, genealogy, computers, technology, and even recreation. Think summer concert series, movies, music. In order for our library to stay relevant, and believe me, we are ahead of the curve. We're one of the 2 top libraries in the state of Illinois, 2 best, and we are known across the country.
Thank you. We'll move on to some questions I've received from the audience. The first one will start with Ms. Gilbert. Do you feel the current library facility building and parking lot area are adequate, or do you feel new facilities are needed for future growth?
Well, I know that the current central library building is only 20 years old, and thankfully I think the people who put that together were thinking to the future. I think the building is huge and really adequately sized. I know there have been some concerns with the parking, especially regarding the drop the book drop area from your car. And I heard at one of the board meetings I attended that they were considering other options. So that is something that I would hope to see looked at in the future, because I've seen some near accidents in the parking lot with the book drop, because you have to wait in the same line to pick up materials at the window as you do drop books. So I would hope that maybe some other options could be explored, or some way to make that a little easier for people to get around in that area. But otherwise, I think the space in the central building is very good.
Thank you. Moving to Ms. Bozard.
I think that the past trustees have done an excellent job of assessing what was needed for the community, and I'm very proud of the branches that we have. The Central Library opened in 1998, then the Hoffman Estates Library in 2002, and the Hanover Park Branch in 2006. And basically our focus now, instead of adding different facilities, is more to maintain and protect the investment the community's made in the buildings that we do have. So we have adequate reserves for the future, because we occasionally do studies to see what the needs are, what mechanical issues there are, and what how the needs of the community to use the facilities are changing, and what needs to be done, such as our recent renovation of the teen center and of the commons on the main floor, to provide library space that meets the needs of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Siren.
As stated, our central library is already 20, going on 21 years old. Between the three libraries, we have had traffic of 20 million visitors since the new library was built. In our most recent capital assessment, we have been preparing for 10 years for the aging building. We are pretty much landlocked. We would love to increase the parking lot size. We don't have a good solution for it yet. We will not be putting on an addition, as maybe was suggested in some newspaper articles. Previous board members have been very careful with finances so that we don't have to keep coming to the public for money. Over the next 5 years, we have $5.4 million of maintenance that has to be done to maintain our facilities. Roof replacement is coming up in that 5.4, that'll be $1.7 million, and we feel that these are capital assessment things that have to be attended to.
Thank you. Ms. Bernis.
Thank you very much. So I believe that our plant is plenty big to begin with the 2 branches and our main building. It luckily was built kind of looking into the future with a lot of foresight, so that it can be repurposed, and we've been able to make changes within our own building plant to make sure that we're accommodating for changes, for growth. And it's all about making a plan for the future. So we've sat down and we've looked at what our building will need in the next 5 to 10 years. We're putting together a financial plan to use the dollars that we're receiving from families to make sure we're good stewards of that money, and making sure it's going towards the things that we need in a good plan, a good fiscal way, and that we're not having to go out and ask for more and more resources to kind of, because oops, we forgot about that coming up in the near future. So our plan is to make sure we have a financial plan moving forward, that we're using the dollars that are coming to us in a very respectful way.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Ms. Bozard. What do you see as the top 2 priorities for the next 4 years for the library board?
Yes, I think in the last question we touched on it. The most important issues, I think, are the 20-year-old facility, Central Library, and since it was open, we're prioritizing now the maintenance of the facility. There are some major repairs that need to be done, like Terry mentioned, the new roof and the HVAC. And over time, the spaces will continue to need to be renovated to reflect the current ways that the public uses the library. So that's the number 1 thing I would say. And something kind of new on the horizon is the wage increase. The Schaumburg Library, out of our budget of $16 million, $11 million of it is for wages and benefits. That's about 70%. So we're just starting to assess with our next coming budget period to see what kind of impact that will have, because that's a big part of our costs. So we want to carefully plan for the future and also look at our budget in a good way to make sure we're covered. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Siren?
Yeah, the two things that I would say also is, number one, our aging building. And we've known it's been coming on, and we've tried to plan very carefully for that so that we don't have to go to the public. I have about 4 pages of capital assessment repairs that all need to be done between the 3 buildings. The other thing, I guess, I am really concerned that we stay relevant and at the cutting edge, and that we give the public what they need because of the changing roles of libraries, because they are meeting places. This is where the community connects. People come to do meeting rooms, everything. It's in Schaumburg, it's become the heart of the community. It's those are the 2 issues I think we're most worried about.
Thank you. Ms. Burns?
So looking ahead, definitely capital improvement, like my colleagues have said. It's also taking the library to our community members. So we've had various programs in the past couple of years respond to the need for people from the library to go out and meet our community members where they are, whether it be at senior citizen centers, or it might be a pop-up library where children are, or go to fairs where large groups of families might be, to kind of bring it to them and let them know what's out in the community. And I think those are the top 2 things. So I know our board is looking at budget and it's looking at policy. And so we are so proud to have an outstanding staff, and they're librarians, and they're focused on coming up with great library ideas. And so I'm going to be there on the board to make sure that they have what they need through budgeting correctly and also through setting good policies so that they know they have the support of the board to do outstanding work in the community.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert?
Echoing what the trustees have said, I've sat in on many board meetings, as I said, and I've heard the concerns about the building with the central library. It is 20 years old. I know I've heard things about the carpet on the 2nd floor being original to the building, and it's not in carpet squares, so it can't just be replaced where there are areas of need. It has to kind of all be done to match. So I've heard about these things that need to be done, and I know that the maintenance is really important to everyone, and because we do want our library to be kept in such a beautiful condition. Also, I think community outreach is really important because, as I said in my opening statement, there are community members who aren't aware of things that the library can offer them. I am still learning, even as a very enthusiastic user of the library for over 10 years. I am still surprised every now and then by things that we offer.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Ms. Siren. Young adults are using more electronic media. How can the library encourage more usage by young adults?
Wow. The teen center is always crowded, is always packed. The teens in our community, with our student trustees, we are in constant contact with the 3 high schools, and they advise us as to what the student population needs. I see the teen center packed constantly. I do feel we have 2 really great student trustees this year, and they have done a great job of communicating what goes on in the teen center, what's available in our studio. And I think most of the young people are quite advanced in technology, and I think we offer much more than any other library can offer. We're way ahead of the curve.
Thank you. Ms. Briggs?
So when it comes to young people, I don't know if we need to encourage them to use it. They're already using it, but it's helping them to use it in the right ways. And so I think that at the Schaumburg Library, we are giving programs that helps people use technology in creative and productive ways. We also have a lot of items that people can check out, video recorders, speakers, There's things that, so you can keep your cell phone straight when you're taking videos. And those are the types of new technologies that are coming up that are available at our library for people to use, so the hardware that people need. We also have the programs, the software that people are going to need moving forward. So providing programming for young people so that they're using the technology that's available in the right way, and hopefully so that it's productive for them, so they can go on to study what they want to study in school, and they can also go and get a job that's well suited for them.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert.
Thank you. As they have said, there are 2 student trustees on the board. I've seen them at the meetings that I've been at. And I know that they're engaging people at the high schools that they go to, and the library does work to get involved with the other high school that isn't represented by a student trustee. I think the library does a great job engaging young people with events like Comic-Con. There was a Harry Potter night I went to with my family that was ridiculously well attended. And also the library does a good job with their social media presence, since I think that is where a lot of young people get a lot of their information. But I don't think there's really a right way or a wrong way for a young person to use the library, as long as they're in there and doing something that they find meaningful, whether it's reading graphic novels or doing something that will advance their career. I think it's just good to have them in there so they can discover more.
Thank you. Ms. Bozzer.
As you can imagine, with 3 teenagers in my house, 3 high schoolers, I have a lot of experience with this. First of all, we have a great facility for them to come to, so they want to come to the library, whether it's reading or going to programs, or playing video games with their friends. Just to find a safe place to go is important. Also, the librarians and some of the teams on our board go make visits to the high schools and teach about how to do research and use the databases. My daughter's been using this on a research project currently. My other daughter has signed up for the Teen Book Box, and the librarians are helping give them ideas of what to read in a fun, new way. There's lots of great programs, including the teen job fair that my daughter attended recently, and she's gotten lots of offers for summer jobs. So the library is doing a great job of engaging kids and providing facilities and meeting rooms for them to be able to use the technology in a productive way. Thank you.
Thank you. For our next question, we'll start with Ms. Baroness. Town Square seems to be an underutilized area that should be a vital part of Schaumburg. How can the library help to energize Town Square?
So the library definitely is an anchor in that Town Square complex. And so we are also part of the community. We're a neighbor there. So there's so much we can do. In collaboration with the village, we do put on programming around that lake area underneath the gazebos. And so that kind of brings it alive in the summertime. And that's something that really attracts a large number of people from all ages. So when it comes to all age programming, that's a really, we've seen the numbers grow as far as people attending those programs. And that revitalizes that area. Now there's companies around or storefronts around the complex. And we have an issue with the supermarket space there that has been kind of a thorn in our side, and we try to be as good a neighbor as possible, but those are also legal issues that are hard to face. And so we hope to offer and be a good neighbor to anyone who moves into that space, but quite frankly, it's a hard hit, the economy is hard hit, and so that's what's happening with small businesses.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert.
As Jillian was saying, there are programs that go on around the lake in the town square. In the summer, I've seen yoga programs. There are concerts in that area, and there's also library presence at the farmers market that I've seen, which is really exciting. So I think it's nice for them to get their name out there and hopefully be able to get people to spend more time in town square. I agree that it's underutilized, and that's a shame because it's a really beautiful space. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bozzer.
Unfortunately, there's some things that are in our control and some things that are out of our control. And I loved when there was a grocery store there it helped vitalize the space to get people coming in. For one thing, maybe they stop in at the library. I think people still remember the library and still attend the library, but we've been just keeping up to hear what happens with that space, but it's out of our control. Like the others have said, we have great outdoor programming at the town square. And when the farmer's market is going on in the summer, it's much more vibrant. It's a little bit harder right now in the winter time. But honestly, I don't think it really impacts us. It does impact us some, but not as much because we are still getting a lot of people coming to the library for programming, materials, and also utilizing the library remotely. And we go out into the community also to bring the library to people. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Syrie.
I think everyone has touched on what the situation is. We do, as I mentioned before, we have the concert series. I think the majority of the people, without a doubt, are coming into that area because of the library, because we do have close to 1 million visitors a year. If there is a positive side to the negative situation, we have enjoyed using their parking lot, which has been a big benefit for us, and it will not go on forever. And that's probably the one good aspect of not having the grocery store yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Ms. Gilbert. With all the conversation about construction and maintenance, how does the bidding process work in selecting contractors?
Well, I don't personally have experience with this because I haven't had a leadership role in the library in the past, but I have seen this talked about in the board meetings that I've attended. I've seen the board review the bids from different contractors and determine what the best course of action is based on price and the services that they provide. I'm going to be completely honest, though, I've never dealt with that before, but I would be a quick study, I hope.
Thank you. Ms. Bozzer.
The library management handles the main part of the bids, and then it comes to us for approval. We go out to bid for the work that is done. There's a lot of specifications on what is required, and then they come back to us and it's evaluated by library staff on what the lowest responsible bid is. And that's what we look at, and we have discussions as a board and see what the best decision is for the library. Unless there's something that's a sole source that can only be provided by a certain company, we're required to take the lowest bid, but we have discussion and determine what the best option is for the library for the project that we're working on. But like I said, there's staff that's very knowledgeable, and they help explain and give us guidance, and then the ultimate decision is with the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Syrie.
Julie answered that perfectly. We do study, but we get printouts of the bids. We always try to go with the lowest bid, except when we have a sole source, and that does come up, especially in the areas of technology. Not everybody, it's not available maybe from a number of sources, but it's something we really need at the library. The staff is very careful, the director is very careful with your money and our money, and we always go with the lowest qualified bid we can have presented to us.
Thank you. Ms. Bernas.
The mechanics of that were explained well. It goes out for a request for formal proposal, RFP, publicized so that available vendors can see it and can produce their bid within the deadline offered. And then we look at the different bids that are offered to us. We do get to see the amounts, the figures, and we go as long as it's the lowest comprehensive bid. So sometimes the vendor might not prepare a proposal that is within the specifications of what we request, and therefore it's not feasible. We can't go with that lowest price because they haven't fulfilled everything that we've asked for. And so that's perhaps why you might have seen it not go for a lower amount. But it is typically the lowest amount as long as they can fulfill all the specifications of our project.
Thank you. The next question will start with Ms. Bozart. Public libraries often serve as a refuge for the homeless. What approach and resources would you support to ensure that everyone is well served?
everyone is welcome at the library. It's a public space, and so it's not, it could be an issue, but I haven't heard that much that it's an issue at our library. We have a warm space where people can sit and do their work. They can look at materials. So we're definitely open for anyone from the public to utilize our facilities. There are social services at other agencies. Unfortunately, the library doesn't really specialize in that librarians could refer people to help. Personally, my husband and I work at the local PADS shelter. We make breakfast once a month at the shelter at a local church. And so I actually have seen one of the people from the shelter at our library, and we had a wonderful conversation, and it's definitely not an issue if anyone is at our library. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Siren?
We have discussed it at board meetings. It has not, anyone who has come in to get warm or to spend some quality time in a safe space, we have had no problems to date. We have a policy for behavior inside the library, and no homeless person has ever violated those rules for behavior in the library, and we have not had a serious problem with it. So I would like to see the doors still open in winter.
Thank you. Ms. Fairness?
So clearly that's an experience our whole community has. The schools are having more individuals who are on free reduced lunches. So what we did this past year is we piloted a program at our Hanover Park branch where young people were welcome to have lunch in our library and be there, use our resources, and also stay for lunch so that they're well fed when schools are out of session during the summer months. We also have a bus route that we were happy to see pass by our library, and I do believe there was conversations between our management and the PACE bus to make sure that gives people access to our space. And then the library is a welcome, it's a warming shelter. I don't know if it's officially a warming shelter because I know Township of Schaumburg has the official warming shelter status, and perhaps that is something we can look into, but it is available and open to the public and a resource for people no matter what their needs might be.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert?
A library is a place for everyone in the community, and that does include the homeless. I have a graduate degree in library science. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but that is something that we learn about in library school, is how to treat homeless people with dignity, to help connect them to services that they may need. And I actually just heard a wonderful story on a podcast about a girl who basically lived in a library when she was growing up, when her family was having some financial struggles. It was a really touching story, and she got to go back and meet the librarian who was so integral to making her feel welcome as a child, and it was a really lovely story. And I would hope that that same respect would be given to anyone in the Schaumburg Library, anyone who comes in to learn or spend some time or get out of the weather. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will start with Ms. Siren. How will the $15 an hour minimum wage increase affect the library budget?
Well, obviously, we're very thankful that it's going to be phased in over time, so that will help us adjust. We have people in circulation who do work for minimum wage, and possibly the raising of the minimum wage will help us keep those people. There's a large turnover in circulation because it doesn't pay very well. We discussed it for the first time at just our past meeting this month. It's the first meeting, regular board meeting we've had. And we are looking into exactly what it's going to mean to us, and we're counting on having the graduating time schedule, when it is implemented, give us time to adjust.
Thank you. Ms. Furness?
Thank you very much. So it will impact our budget. It will impact it in a great way. We do have a lot of part-time employees that work for our library, so that we'll have to tier, as the years go on, we'll have to add additional to their salaries. And so we're going to have to look at what what we can do. I don't know. We're building that into our financial plan right now. Obviously, it was just signed by the governor last week. So we are going to be looking at the numbers and putting that into our financial plan. And it may impact our ability to make renovations. So we are looking at a renovation of the circulation department right now, and something we haven't approved yet. And we don't know yet. So we're still reviewing. We want to make sure it's done in a very methodical way so that we aren't overlooking anything. We're taking everything into account.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert?
I also heard about this at the most recent board meeting last Monday when I was there. I've been following the news from Springfield, and like everyone has said so far, it is going to be phased in on a graduated scale. So personally, I don't know because I haven't worked with the budget in great detail, but I know that whoever is on the board will look at that thoughtfully and make sure that future budget decisions are done and things are prioritized so that that is taken into consideration, because it will have an effect on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bosler?
We're lucky that we have enough time to look at this issue, so the board will carefully consider it. We prepared for our new budget, which starts in July. We have 3 budget meetings where we meet with the staff and we go through in great detail all of the asks from the departments and all the staffing needs. And so we will do that as part of our regular process. And we also periodically look at salaries of certain grades for jobs in the library, so that will be part of this study also. And we come in under budget every year. Typically, we're very careful at the library with how we manage our money. So I think we do have room in our budget overall, although we like to prioritize that money towards future renovations. So we'll see how much we can set aside for the future for building projects. And just to let you know, the budget at the library is bottoms up. They look at scheduling, they look at how much people make, and then we look at what needs there are above prior years. Thank you.
Thank you. Time now requires that we move to closing statements. Candidates, you will have 1 minute each, and we will start with Ms. Burgess.
Excellent. Once again, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to the community members who came out to hear us. I am very much looking forward to serving my community through the library board for many years to come. And I would love to have your vote on April 2nd. But please make a plan to vote, because you can always early vote at the Rolling Meadows Courthouse, March 5th. You can also do early voting at Trickster Gallery, March 18th. And then, of course, April 2nd at the regular neighborhood poll. And you can look for more information about me. My website will be going up, votejillian.com. And then you can also write to me. It's Jillian@votejillian.com. We'd love to hear any questions that you didn't have answered here. We welcome them at that address. And I ask for your vote on April 2nd, or if you get there beforehand.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert?
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for organizing this event, and to the Spring Valley Nature Center for hosting us. And thank you to all of you for coming out on a rainy Saturday early morning. It's really nice to see so much public engagement. I think we had some really good discussions about library issues today, and we thank you all for your time. Ultimately, I believe I would be an excellent trustee due to my education in library and information science, my experience as a professional librarian, and my vested interest in the library as someone who uses and values this institution and wants to preserve it for generations to come. I hope I have your support, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Bosler?
I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me to speak at this event. I've enjoyed serving as trustee for the Schaumburg Township District Library. I hope to continue in this role and serve our community. I want to see the library facilities and programs continue to flourish in a way that will protect the community's investment and meet the future needs of library users. I am a frequent library user myself. I am proud of the excellent library staff and the innovative ways in which the library serves patrons. I will use my CPA background to assist the board in a fiscally responsible manner to continue to offer both traditional and innovative materials and services to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Syed?
45 years ago, my husband and I moved very purposefully to Schaumburg. We raised our 2 children here. My background is an elementary school teacher, retired. I went to Northern Illinois University, and my minor was in early childhood development. I am very sensitive to the stakeholders and the patrons in the community. I remember the library passing through the old house to our new library on Library Lane, and now in our new building and our two satellite buildings. I cherish the library as much as this community does, and it is such a source of pride for this community. And when we go to state things, people say to us, "Oh, you're from Schaumburg Library." Like, yeah, but we didn't do it all. I'm finishing my first term, and I would love to serve the community again and the library. Thank you.
Thank you. As we bring to this forum to a close, would you join me in thanking our candidates? Audience, the candidates will be in the lobby if you'd like to talk to them more today. Please be sure to vote on April 2nd. We'll take a 5-minute break before we start our next forum. If you're staying here